Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to share why I stopped following these productivity YouTubers, and the main reason is because they talk all about time management. So if you search for productivity on YouTube, you'll find all of these videos which are mostly about managing your time. Now the problem with this approach is we all have limited time, but it's the same time that's given to all of us, yet everyone, even people who manage their time really well, they all perform at different levels. So there's clearly something else which matters more. And what's that? Let's figure it out. So here we have a chart showing what's really important, right? So if you see that task management, which is what you're working on, makes up for most of productivity. So if you're managing your time really well, let's say you time block on your calendar, you've got all the hacks in place, you've got your timers, you've got your alarms, but then you start working on the wrong tasks, then what's the whole point? So you could be very productive by managing your time and yet work on the wrong tasks. So half of your task, half of your job is actually task management. It's to find out what you're working on. And I'll share a 3-step framework to do exactly that in a moment. The second thing is your fundamental currency, which is not time, guys. It's not time, it's energy. Energy is your fundamental currency. So the second thing you need to manage after you know what to work on is how do you focus on that? And that's called energy management. Once you're able to manage your energy and know what tasks to work on, then we have 10% of the pie, which is time management. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that time management does not play any role in personal productivity. It does, but it comes way below the hierarchy than what people talk about. Okay, so in the rest of the video, let me share the 3-step process that I follow for the task management, as well as at the end, I will also share my 3 steps for energy management. For time management, I don't really need to talk about it. There's just so much out there that you can consume. But just be sure that you don't over consume content about time management, because you'll essentially end up wasting a lot of time, just like I did. So the first thing is task management, which is know what to work on. A lot of times we are working on certain projects or certain tasks that are not aligned with how success looks like. So if you haven't visualized what success looks like for you, that's the first place to start. But assuming you've done that, this is how you go about it. So it's a 3-step process. The first step is what are the pillars of your life? So for me, for example, it's health, wealth, and family. Those are the 3 pillars of my life. I call it the tripod of my life. Once you know what your pillars are, then you need to assign goals for each of these pillars. And what I do is I assign annual goals for each of these pillars. So for example, for health, I have a goal for 2023, which is that I want to come below 15% body fat. For wealth, I want to make $250,000 this year in profits. And then I have the family goals, wherein I have to do at least 2 family trips together with my family and spend quality time with them and pick up my daughter from school at least 80% of the days. So I have specific goals for each of the pillars. Now these goals will eventually translate into either projects or habits. So projects and habits, those are the only 2 things that these goals will translate to. Because projects will be these fixed time things that you'll have to do to get to your goals, and habits will be the recurring things that you do on a day-to-day basis to get to your goals. And a combination of this will lead you to your goals, which are mapped to your life's pillars. This is what brings you satisfaction in life. And hence, only these projects and habits matter. So when you look at your calendar, you might just block everything out, but make sure what are you blocking it with? Are you blocking it with these habits and these projects, or someone else's habits, or someone else's goals, or someone else's projects? Because if you don't block it with these projects and habits, you're likely still going to have a blocked calendar, but it's going to be blocked for someone else's goals. So make sure you do this. This is essentially the entire task management framework. You really don't need to follow a lot of content, a bunch of videos about task management. These are the only 3 steps that you need to do, because then you'll be able to map them to the right things, right? So knowing what to work on is half the job is done with personal productivity. Now let's move to the next 40%, which is focus on your fundamental currency. And your focus currency, your fundamental currency is energy. It's not time. And the good thing, no matter what you've heard, the good thing I'm going to tell you about energy is that you can extend your energy. And you cannot do that with time. Time is a finite resource. However, energy, you can manage it in a way that you can extend it by following, what this author, which I'm going to talk about, calls the expend energy versus recover energy cycle. It's a loop that you can follow with which you can actually extend the amount of energy you have. So it's not as finite as time. Remember that we are all talking about personal productivity here. We're not about business productivity, in which case leverage comes in which case other people's time, other people's energy, and all of those things come in. We're talking about your own personal productivity, right? So your own fundamental currency for personal productivity is energy. And I'm going to reference this book, which is an amazing book, The Power of Full Engagement. And this is the book that focuses on managing energy versus time, which is why this is sort of an outlier in the personal productivity space. And if you have to achieve full engagement, they define it by achieving these 4 things. Okay, so we're going to start with the bottom level, which is the fundamental level, which is your physical energy. Are you physically energized, or do you feel lousy and lazy? Now, you don't have to feel physically energized at all times throughout the day, because we all have natural cycles, we all have ups and downs. It's just the biorhythm and how it works. But you have to be physically energized when you're focusing on those tasks that matter to you, right? So physically energized, emotionally connected, mentally focused, you have mental clarity and you're focused on the task. Right now, if you're recording a video, you're just recording a video. If you're watching this video, you're just watching this video. So you're mentally focused and you're spiritually aligned, which means that all of these tasks and activities that you're doing lead you to the greater good, to the things that you value. And it's not about greater good in the sense that what society wants or what religion wants or what God wants. It's about what you value. So for me personally, sharing this information with you guys is something I value, and I want to share this value, and that's how recording this video is spiritually aligned. It's the first half of my day, so I'm physically energized. I just came back from a walk. I'm emotionally connected because I've relaxed enough, I've slept enough, I had a mindful tea in the morning. I'm mentally focused because of that, and some deep breathing that I did in the morning. I'm spiritually aligned as well. So those are some of the activities and routines and habits that you can do, of course, but the idea is to be fully engaged. That's full engagement. Now, I do want to reference this YouTube video. While I have spoken about like productivity YouTubers at the start, by the way, I follow all of those guys. I love their content. It's just that a lot of that content is about time management, which does not, to be very honest, play that big of a role. It does play a role, but it's way below the hierarchy, like I said. So Verbal to Visual, definitely check out this video by Verbal to Visual. He has summarized this book in a very nice way. And he talks about this spending energy and recovering energy cycle, which I really liked. I used to do this, but now I'm doing it a little bit more intentionally after watching this video. So you have these rituals that make sure that you use those 4 kinds of energy, and then you have rituals on the other side which make sure that you recover from using that energy. The important thing is to use that energy before you recover it, because if you don't use it, it's going to deplete. If you don't recover it, it's going to deplete as well. So you want to use it and you want to recover it, and by doing this you actually extend the amount of energy that you have. So it's not finite. Just by spending it and then recovering from it, you'll be able to actually increase it. And Robin Sharma calls this the twin cycle of focus, twin cycles of total focus, I believe. And he also talks about how you should spend energy and recover energy. He talks about how he gets 2 massages a week to recover himself, how he takes these breaks in which he's able to come back more focused, come back in action. And you might have seen this yourself, if you go on a vacation or a holiday, when you're back to work, you have full energy. And I'm smiling because I just had a monastic deep work session. So I was in the mountains for 4 days. I did focused deep work on my book, finished my book. There's a YouTube video about that as well. And when I came back, I feel so much more energized because of the recovery cycle. So there's these twin cycles, right? And using these twin cycles, you can not just recover, but also extend your energy. Now let's talk about the 4 types of energy and the different activities that I personally do to increase these levels of energy. So the first one is physical. I do strength training Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I do cardio on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today is a Tuesday, so that's my cardio day. I do yoga in the evenings with some breathing. Nutrition, I focus on eating high quality proteins. I'm a pescatarian, so I eat only seafood and vegetables. And then sleep, I average around 7.5 hours in the last 1 year. That's my average sleep duration. Typically sleep at the same time every day, which is 10:30, and sleep for 7.5 hours. Sometimes I wake up earlier because of my daughter, but that's fine. And then I have a sauna once a week. I have cold showers almost every day. That's my physical stack. And these are the things that give me energy. And you should do your own energy audit to figure out like what are the things that give you energy and what are the things that deplete your energy. You don't want to do too much of that depletion, but you do want to do things which recover and give you energy. So if you look at this, there's the first half in which I am actually giving some stress to my muscles and so forth, and then there's sleep and sauna and stuff like that, which gives me the recovery. So there's both elements involved. Now let's get to emotional. So to increase your bank of emotional activities, emotional energy, basically you need to do relaxing activities. So whether they are hobbies or things that make you feel relaxed. So reading, learning new languages in my case. I'm learning Spanish right now. I can speak Vietnamese to some extent. Nature walks, just going out for a walk in the park, along the beach. This is why I love to live near beaches and hills. Catching up with a friend. Mindful tea is a new habit that I've developed. So in the morning, I would brew tea very slowly and mindfully. I feel you can be like way more mindful in getting flavors of tea versus coffee. So I do coffee while working. For example, I don't feel disrespectful to coffee if it's just sitting next to my laptop. But if tea is sitting next to my laptop, then I have to be with the tea. That's like just my difference of tea versus coffee. I love both, but the way I perceive them is slightly different. So tea is for me that spiritual figure. Coffee for me is productivity. So reduce input, that's the final thing. If you're watching too much of social media, newsfeed, this and that, it's going to somehow hamper. I also listen to music which does not have words. I don't watch movies. So those things are relaxing for me emotionally. Since I have a family, I have these businesses and all of that stuff, I don't want more input in my life, really. So next is mental. So for mental, the best thing that you can do is deep work. Forgot to put a picture there, but Cal Newport's Deep Work, highly recommended. Book that changed my life. Definitely read that one and implement it. So implement deep work in your day-to-day basis, but also do some monastic deep work sessions and have a video showing you how to do monastic deep work sessions. I'll link to that as well. Then you should also schedule the shallow work. So if you have to check emails, if you have to check social media, let's say you're a social media marketing manager and you're like, deep work, quit social media, I cannot do it. That's fine. Schedule your checking notifications. I work with a social media manager and she follows deep work. What she does is she schedules all of those things together. Then she has deep work sessions where she's working on the content calendar and the creative idea. So there's a lot of deep work scope within social media as well. Then you have the 10,000 feet versus 10 feet views. So look at everything from the dirt and the clouds. What happens is when you switch these views, you actually increase your mental energy. It gives you perspective of things. And finally, day theming is something I use for mental clarity. So today's, for example, Tuesday. Today is all of the content calendar, YouTube, creating videos, writing scripts day. But Monday, I just focus on sales for my agency. Wednesday, I focus on the delivery side of my agency. Friday, I focus on working with my project manager because he's the key guy in the agency. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which are my gym strength training days, are also my agency days. While Tuesday and Thursday are my academy and content creation days, which is also my cardio days. So I've linked my fitness and business together in that sense. Then we have the spiritual aspect. And this is sort of my new favorite because I used to tend to be able to ignore this quite easily, but now not anymore. Mindfulness, being mindful about whatever I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to be slow. That's one thing I realized. While I do enjoy being slow and mindful at the same time, you could be in action and mindful at the same time, as long as you are present to whatever you're doing. Nature time helps with spirituality, I feel, especially if it's alone. So if you're going alone, nature means true nature, not on the street, but if you're going hiking, or if you're going on a raw beach, walking to an island or something like that. There's literally an island in where I live where you can walk to the island when the tide is low. So that's the reference for that, for those who could not visualize walking to an island. Yoga definitely helps, especially when I do it alone, not in a class setting. Then there's seva, so doing things for others without expecting anything in return. That helps to build the spiritual energy. Parenting for me is a big one, like that's the new one, of course. I feel that, when I'm with my daughter, I feel that she's an individual and I'm there, but I'm not imposing myself on her. And that sort of parenting I feel is really spiritual. Then there's meditation, and finally there's chanting, which I don't know if a lot of you might have access to this tool, but being from India, understanding the languages, chanting is really a powerful way to get into that mindful zone and boost that energy. So those are all of the 4 buckets of energy and the activities I use. Finally, like I promised, these are the next steps. That's the 3-step process that you need to get to after you've watched this video. Don't just watch this video to watch the video. If you start executing every video you watch, imagine where you would be now. You'd probably not be watching more YouTube videos. So next steps. First one, conduct an energy audit. See what do you do throughout the day that gives you energy, and then what takes energy. Maybe the first cup of coffee in the morning at 9 a.m., 1.5 hours after you wake up. If you follow Andrew Huberman, that's going to give you energy. But the second coffee that you do after 2 p.m. is going to take away energy because it's going to deplete your sleep cycle. It's going to hamper your deep sleep, and the next morning you cannot do deep work. So that sucks. Second one is add or remove activities in these 4 buckets based on the audit. So for example, we discussed caffeine, but maybe you can try going to the gym and see how you feel after that. If you have more energy, that's an activity that gives you back energy. This is the fun thing about energy. If you do anything with time, it's never going to give you back time, except leverage, which is outsourcing, which is outside the scope of this because we are talking about personal productivity. But energy, there are things that you do that give you back energy, which is the amazing thing about energy. Finally, you have to loop between this spend and recovery cycle, and that's how you extend the amount of energy that you have. So that's the entire personal productivity framework, guys. You still have the option to go ahead and watch videos which are all going to contribute to your 10% time management. But instead of that, get back to work, get back to business, focus on your task and energy alignment. That's going to get most of the returns. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao.